Here is the fact that should make you uncomfortable. Europe has been building circular economy policy for over a decade. We have improved recycling rates, we have better waste collection, we have more ambitious targets. And we have made almost no progress on the thing that actually matters most, reducing how much virgin material we extract and consume in the first place. More recycling, less change, that is the honest picture. In this video, I'm going to show you why that gap exists, what Europe is now doing to close it, and what it means for the roles and competences that will define the next decade of industrial transformation. I'm Anastasia, PhD in Sustainable Manufacturing, with experience in business development and leadership, founder of Green Swan and regulatory intelligence specialist for the green transition. I have spent years reading the documents that most professionals never see and translating them into what matters for businesses and the people working in them. The European Union's 2020 Circular Economy Action Plan triggered a wave of new legislation. Packaging regulation, battery regulation, construction products, textiles, eco-design, most of it ambitious, most of it real. But the progress report is blunt. Little or no progress on decoupling economic growth from resource use, little or no progress on reducing Europe's consumption footprint, little or no progress on increasing the circular material use rate overall. Why? Because most of the policy effort has focused on the end of product's life, sorting, collecting and recycling waste. And the end of life is the hardest and most expensive place to recover value. The point where you can save the most in terms of materials, energy and cost is the beginning, design phase. The decision about what goes into a product before it's manufactured. And 80% of product's environmental impact is locked in all the design stage. Europe has been focused on the wrong end of the chain. And that is changing now, slowly and with enormous institutional resistance from industrial companies that profit from the current linear model. Here is the economic problem at the heart of the circular economy. And it's not a technical problem, it's a pricing problem. Recycled polyester from post-consumer textile waste in Europe costs around 2,480 euros per ton to produce. Virgin polyester from Asia costs around 950 euros per ton. So recycled PET plastic costs more than virgin PET made from oil. Secondary raw materials, like materials recovered from waste, consistently struggle to compete on price with primary raw materials extracted from the ground. And the reason is not that recycling is inherently inefficient. The reason is that the price of primary raw materials does not reflect the true cost of extracting, processing and disposing of them. Resource extraction is still subsidized, directly through governmental tax measures and indirectly through prices that don't account for environmental damage. The pollution from a mine, the ecosystem destruction from drilling, the carbon emissions from processing, none of these are fully priced into the cost of the material. So the circular economy is competing on a tilted playing field, and until that playing field is leveled, either by raising the cost of primary materials or by reducing the cost of the secondary ones, the circular alternatives will always be at the commercial disadvantage. And this is why the upcoming Circular Economy Act matters, and why the competence to understand and navigate these economic and regulatory instruments is becoming genuinely strategic. There is also a structural shift happening in parallel to the regulatory changes, and it's one of the most significant business model transformation of the decade. It's called Servitisation, or product as a service, and the idea is simpler than the word sounds. People don't actually want a light bulb, they want light. They don't want a vacuum cleaner, they want a clean floor. They don't want a heating system, they want thermal comfort. When you sell a product, your incentive is to make it cheap to manufacture and easy to replace. When you sell a service like light, warm, clean floors, Your incentive is to make the equipment as durable, efficient, and long-lived as possible, because you own it, you maintain it, and you get it back at the end of life. This shift from ownership to use is not just a business trend, it's being actively encouraged by European Union policy. The Draghi report placed it at the center of the European Union competitiveness. European Union regulation is beginning to create legal and fiscal frameworks that support the switch. And it's creating entirely new commercial roles like service designers, circular leasing specialists, residual value analysts, refurbishment managers in industries that have never needed them before. Even when recycling works technically, the market for what comes out of it is often broken. The European Environmental Agency studied secondary raw material markets for wood, plastics, bio-waste, construction and demolition waste, and textiles. The conclusion is, none of these markets are functioning well. 3 problems keep coming up again and again. First is quality uncertainty. Like, products today contain dozens of additives, coatings, and chemical mixtures. When you recycle them, you don't always know what you are getting. Is there a substance of concern in this plastic? Is this material safe to use in food packaging? The Digital Product Passport is designed to solve this by making the full material composition of products available to recyclers before they start. That is why Digital Product Passport is as much a circular economy tool as it is a compliance tool. Second, missing standards. In construction, metal, wooden, and concrete structural elements from demolished buildings are not covered by standards suitable for use of reusable or recycled materials. Without standards, buyers cannot trust the quality, and without trust, there is no market. Third one is missing end-of-waste criteria. In the European Union law, waste cannot be freely traded across borders as a material until it formally qualifies as a product by meeting end-of-waste criteria. So, harmonized criteria exist for steel, aluminum, and glass. But for plastics, textiles, construction waste, the criteria are still being developed. And until they exist, the single market for secondary raw materials is fragmented by national rules. So what is Europe actually doing to fix this? 4 things simultaneously. The eco-design regulation is pushing design upstream, requiring products to be built for durability, repairability, recyclability, and minimal use of hazardous substances from the start. This is the most powerful lever because it changes what enters the system before it becomes waste. Second is packaging and packaging waste regulation. It introduces mandatory recycled content like minimum 30% recycled plastic in packaging by 2030 and uniform waste sorting labels across the whole European Union. Harmonized labels mean better sorting means higher quality recycled material, and higher quality material means a real market. Extended producer responsibility is being expanded and strengthened. Producers pay fees based on how recyclable their products are, eco-modulated fees that make it financially rational to design for recyclability. The worse your product is to recycle, the more you pay. That is a powerful signal into the design department. And the waste shipment regulation now restricts the export of waste to non-OECD countries. Europe can no longer ship its recycling problem to someone else. The waste stays here, in Europe, which means the recycling infrastructure must be built here, which means the job must be created here. The policy direction is clear. The question is whether the workforce exists to implement it here. There is one more problem that the policy documents are honest about, but that most circular economy advocates prefer not to discuss. Consumers don't want to pay more for circular products, and in most cases, circular products cost more. Repair costs more than replacement because repair is labor-intensive and replacement is manufactured at scale with cheap materials. Refurbishment products cost more to prepare than new products cost to produce. Recycled materials cost more than virgin materials for the reasons we already covered. The data are explicit. European consumers show little demand or willingness to pay for circular products and business models, due to higher prices and the lack of understanding of their benefits. So, who creates the demand then? Green public procurement. The public sector is one of the largest buyers in Europe. When public procurement criteria require minimum recycled content, certified secondary materials, or repaired and refurbished equipment, it creates a market that didn't exist before. The eco-design regulation is enabling mandatory green public procurement criteria. That means that public sector will be required to buy circular, not just encouraged to do so. And when governments buy circular at scale, the price comes down, quality improves, and the private market follows. Understanding how to navigate public procurement criteria, how to document recycled content, how to certify secondary materials, these are emerging commercial competences that the procurement and sales teams don't yet have. So, what does all of this create in terms of careers and competences? Let me be specific here. Secondary raw materials trader or broker. As secondary raw material markets develop, someone needs to match supply with demand, knowing the quality, the price, the regulatory status, and the end-of-use requirements of different material streams. This role is emerging from waste management into commercial trading. Circular product designer. Not just a product designer who knows sustainability exists, but someone who designs from the start for disassembly, repairability, and material recovery, who understands which substances block recycling, who can work with end-of-waste criteria and digital product passport data requirements as design constraints. EPR compliance and fee optimization specialist. As eco-modulated producer responsibility fees spread across packaging, electronics, textiles, and more, companies need someone who understands how product design decisions translate into the fee structures. And this sits between product development, legal, and finance. Servitisation business developer. Someone who can design, price, and sell product as a service models, who understand residual value, maintenance economics, take-back logistics, and the commercial model that makes leasing circular products profitable. This role doesn't exist in most manufacturing companies today. Recycling technology investment analyst. As recycling infrastructure investment scales up, driven by regulatory mandates, recycled content requirements, and EPR fees, someone needs to evaluate which technologies are viable, at what scale, for which material streams. And this is emerging impact investment, industrial strategy, and corporate venture arms. And there is 3 cross-cutting competences that run through all of these roles. The first one, material flow knowledge. Understanding where materials come from, where they go, where they are lost, and what determines their quality at each stage. This is entering procurement, engineering, product development, and finance simultaneously. Regulatory economics. Understanding how EPR fees, recycled content mandates, landfill taxes, and green procurement criteria interact to create or destroy markets for secondary materials. This is a competence that sits between policy analysis and commercial strategy. And the third one, value chain integration, the ability to work across the full life cycle of a product, from design stage through use to end of life. The circular economy doesn't respect departmental boundaries, neither can the professionals who lead it. So here's how to use this as a career signal. Pick a material your company uses, plastic, metal, textile, concrete, whatever is most relevant, and ask for questions. What is the recycled content requirement for this material under current or upcoming European Union regulation? Is your company on track to meet it? What does your product's material composition look like from a recycler's perspective? Is it designed to be recovered, like recycled, or designed to be landfilled? What does your company pay in EPR fees, and does it know how that will change as eco-modulation kicks in? And who in your organization owns the answer to these questions? If nobody does, that is the gap. And the gap is an opportunity. The circular economy is not a recycling program. It is a fundamental restructuring of how products are designed, how materials are valued, and who pays for what happens at the end of product's life. Europe had spent a decade building the downstream infrastructure. The next decade is about the upstream: design, business models, and market structures. The regulations are already written. The economics are being rewritten. The workforce to implement it doesn't yet exist at scale. Pick your industry. Find the market that matters most. Ask which of the competences I described you already have and which you don't. That gap is your next move.